What's up? Gonna give it a minute to make sure everything is starting here properly. All right, looks like we're good. So, um, my name's Seth. You guys can see that on the channel. I have some notes over here for this video. So if I keep looking over here, that is why. But for this video, I'm going to do a little intro, but this is essentially going to be me talking a little bit about my journey so far from moving to a different state and working to start my own business. So I appreciate you watching. Make sure that you leave a like and subscribe to follow along on the journey. But a little bit of background on me if you haven't seen anything on my channel yet. So my name is Seth Heller. I have been doing martial arts for about 20 years, so I'm 25 now, and I've been doing it since I was about 5 years old. Doing MMA mixed martial arts that entire time, sprinkled in a little bit of other arts here and there, such as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I've been teaching martial arts for about 10 years as well. I've taught primarily kids, but I have taught adults for that long as well, just not as many adults throughout that time. So my primary focus and expertise is in coaching kids, but I've coached people as young as 4 up to people in their 60s. So I've been teaching for a long time as well, since I was a teenager, helping out with classes and leading classes when I was about 16 or 17. I also teach self-defense. I'm a certified instructor of the Spear System, as you can see on my shirt, which was started by Coach Tony Blauer back in the late 70s and early 80s and has been developed over time. You guys can please feel free to look more into that. The Spear System is awesome, and I will be talking a little bit more about that as well. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago, in June of this year, June of 2025, I moved from New Jersey, where I had lived my whole entire life and was working for, coaching at, and the office manager of a martial arts school up there for the last 5 years or so. I was the manager, and that's the school that I grew up in. I moved from New Jersey down here to Orlando, Florida, and my goal is to start on my own program and business here. So, to catch you guys up on where I've been. So a little bit more background here before I actually get into that stuff. My mission here, the reason that I wanted to start teaching and the reason that I'm so passionate about what I do and starting up this program is I want to spread the lessons and the things that I've learned through martial arts and through this personal development training with as many people as possible. And the first step to do that is starting my own school, and over time, I'm looking to expand the program and the brand globally as best as we can. The purpose of these streams, I've been on here a little bit on YouTube and on some other social channels. I've been documenting what I've been doing, and I really want to use these live streams as kind of a podcast type of format to share updates on my journey and document everything that's going on so that I have something that I can potentially look back on later down the line to see where I was and all the things that I overcame to get to where I hope I'm going to go. But also to bring people along for the journey and show you guys what it's like, share some of the challenges and the lessons that I'm learning. And like I said, just document everything that I'm doing, providing updates, my thought process throughout all of this, and something that I can look back on later down the line. If you have any questions as we're going throughout here, or anything just for me in general as an entrepreneur, as a martial artist, as a martial arts entrepreneur, anything like that, please feel free to drop it in the chat or the comments. I'm going to get to if there's anything there towards the end of the stream. And of course, if you are watching this later on, I'll get back to you guys through the comments there later on as well. So enough about me and where I come from, and a little bit about my original plan. So like I said, back in June is when I moved. It's now December of 2025. So it's been almost 6 months. Okay, actually it's been about 6 months. So what have I been doing this whole time? I didn't just start the business. I actually officially started my business, my LLC, back in April. And April is also when I made a visit down here to Orlando to make some important business moves and conversations. So let me tell you a little bit about that. So back in January is when I really started to prepare for this journey of moving down here and getting everything off the ground. I started going hard in research and preparing things, documents and programs and all that kind of stuff, lesson planning for the things that I intended on doing. And my initial intent was to come down here and operate out of some local community centers or rec centers. And I had found that there were a few around the Orlando area that I had reached out to. I had gotten in contact with a few of them. But even better than that, I had actually gotten in contact with the director of youth programs for the city of Orlando. So when I was down here visiting in April, I was talking with, we had a meeting, we set up a time to talk, and I got to ask some questions, and he kind of let me know how things work. And he told me about a program that the city does through the community centers. He just called it a 70-30 program. But essentially what happens is I could go into the community centers, run a schedule of classes, and they would support it, through the people that come in the center, host flyers, all that kind of stuff. And I would give them 30% of the revenue. I would keep 70 for myself. And that was something that I was really interested in doing because starting out as a new business owner, I didn't want to have a huge commercial lease and a big rent payment every month, and I thought it was a really good idea to progressively increase that amount as I grew and as I could afford it, essentially. So that was my main priority coming down here originally. What happened there, though, actually, we'll get into that in a second, but another thing that I was working on outside of the community centers was I was contacting a bunch of different schools, mainly private schools at the time, to work with them on after-school programs. So it was actually private schools, as well as some different community organizations like YMCA, JCC, that kind of stuff. And I wanted to work with them so that I could start up programs through their school or through their organization and then use that to funnel students into the community centers. So the concept was I would run a 4, 6, 8, whatever week after school program for them, once a week, twice a week, whatever that would look like. And then at the end of that, I would invite them to come train with me at the community center for those more consistent classes in a space that was basically mine. And then I could do more and the classes would be a little bit more dynamic in that environment. So that was the initial plan. And I get down here in June and I start to feel out the area a little bit more. I start to network and meet some people. And I realized that the community centers were actually a little bit further than I had anticipated from me and where I wanted to be, the area that I wanted to be down here. And along that same line, they just weren't in the areas that I wanted to operate in. I had a specific area that I was looking to target and a certain market that I was looking to target, and they just weren't in the area that I was looking for. So that was one thing. So the community centers kind of got put on the back burner and I was looking for something else. I also was having a lot of trouble connecting with after school prospects, so the community organizations as well as the private schools. And I got a couple responses here and there, and I'll touch on that a little bit more in a few minutes as well, because something did come from one of them, but for the most part, I wasn't really hearing anything. I got a lot of no's, was ignored a lot, so which I was expecting, especially to an extent as a new business owner, but it still stifled my plans a little bit. So I made a pivot. I decided that I was going to start connecting with, or reaching out to at least, local businesses and see if they would be willing to do something like the community centers, like that 70-30 program, with me during their off hours. So essentially I would be renting space from them, either for a fixed rate or some sort of percentage during the hours that they're not in use, so they could recoup some of that rent money, essentially, use the space during those times, and get some other prospects, other potential leads in the business as well. So it was a pretty decent offer, and there wasn't really a whole lot that they had to do. So I did actually have a couple of places that I was looking at. There was one gymnastics studio that I had gone and met with, and we were talking about setting this up. There was an athletic training facility that I was talking to a little bit and looking to set this up. But what happened at that point was we were having conversations and we were starting to get in the process of setting these things up, but I had no stream of leads, no stream of students, no way to get people in. I didn't have any after school programs going or just really any connection to the community yet. So there wasn't really going to be any way to populate the classes off the bat. So that is why I'm not doing that, at least not yet. So here's what I am doing. And this is kind of where I'm at this point, about 6 months in. This is what I've been working on. So I actually, like I mentioned, I did connect with one of the local private schools. And back in, I want to say like April or May, I was communicating and emailing with one of the elementary school directors, youth program directors there. And she had told me that they were looking for someone to run a martial arts program in their summer camp. So I was like, yes, definitely, I would love to do that. They said that I'd have to come in and fill out some paperwork and do some other stuff, like physically be there. And within the month of May it was. And I was like, I'll make it work, no problem, you just let me know. And they said, okay, we have someone who normally runs this program for us, but we haven't heard from them, so we're gonna give it another week or 2 weeks or whatever it was. And if we don't hear, we'll reach out and we'll set something up. So it turns out that they did hear back from that other place, that other person who normally runs the program, and they went with them, and I didn't have that opportunity. However, the director, she told me to reach out about like mid to end of July, and we could talk about some things, setting up some after school stuff for the school year. I was like, great, no problem, thank you for the opportunity, I'll be reaching out to you then. So I reach out around the end of July, and she gets back to me a little bit later and says, hey, we're full for the first quarter of the year, but reach out in the middle of September, and we'll set something up for the second quarter of the year, which started like end of October. So I wait, I say, thank you, no problem, I'll be reaching out. So middle of September comes, and I reach out again. I'm like, hey, you know, this, and that, you asked me to reach out, so here I am. And she was like, oh, great, you know, we're looking for this, and we went back and forth, and we're figuring out some of the details, and we did end up setting up an after-school program. So right now, I actually just finished session number 6 this week. Session number 7, which is the last session of this quarter, is next week. And we set up a program for 4, 5, and 6-year-olds, so pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade. Excuse me. So we set up that program, and it's been going really well so far, first of all. But it was about, I want to say 2 weeks, maybe a little bit less than 2 weeks before that program started. I get a text from the director, the same person that I've been talking to, and she says, hey, the registration's been open for about 14 hours, and your class is already full with 20 kids. I was like, whoa, because I wasn't expecting that at all. I was expecting, she said that they have to get at least 10 kids in there to run one of these classes. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll have like 10 to 12 kids or so, you know, no one really knows me, blah, blah, blah. And so she sends me this text, and within a day, it's full of 20. And then I get another text a couple hours later, hey, we have one more person interested, can you take one more? So I was like, sure, why not? We'll give it a shot. So this program, I'm working with 21 kids. There have been a couple weeks we had all of them, but for the most part, it's been like 19, 20, so almost all of them in this little classroom that they have, and it's been fun. It's been a really good experience so far. So that's been one of my primary focuses over the last couple of months. Then, second thing I've been working on, have going on, if you guys follow any of my other content on here or other social channels, you'll see that I have some private clients that I'm working with on a consistent basis as well. So I'm teaching some adults. One of them I'm working on striking with, so mainly kickboxing, and the other one we're working on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He wants to compete, he wants to get better at the sport, so we're working on that stuff. So I've been working with them for, I want to say about 2 months as well, because a lot of this all kind of came together at the same time, which was kind of wild. But so been working with them for a little while, making some cool progress, and that's been a really good experience. So that's another piece of what I'm doing right now. The third piece here is, I had mentioned the SPEAR system, the self-defense system that I teach Back in August, I actually got certified or recertified to teach the system. I had gotten my first certification back in 2019 and then a recert back in 2021, and this was another recertification that I did, but this time it wasn't with or through the school that I was teaching with up in New Jersey. It was all on my own. It was through me, through my business. This was for me personally. So it was a different experience, and I actually have a whole video up on that experience on this channel, so you guys can check that out. The Spear Level 1 instructor course recap had that all set up. And then recently, a few weeks ago, I actually had the opportunity to start to intern with the Spear system and with the parent company Blauer Tactical Systems, and I actually helped to lead the next, which was, like I said a couple of weeks ago, Level 1 instructor training course online over Zoom, how they do the online courses now. So that was a really good opportunity. I've had a couple of opportunities to work with Blauer Tactical and teach the Spear system as part of their mobile training team, as an intern on the mobile training team. So I do also have some videos up about that as well. So make sure that you guys check those out for me on the channel. And I'm still continuing to work on the MTT, the mobile training team, and my goal is to be teaching Spear around the country, maybe around the world, with other members of the MT team. So that's a big goal that I have right now. I apologize, my throat is giving out on me. Now, you might be thinking like, okay, great, but you don't have a place to really teach yet. That's a great point. That's a great point. So that brings me to what's been my primary focus outside of the after-school program that I'm running. My primary focus right now is finding a spot and getting students to teach a consistent schedule of classes on a weekly basis. I haven't done that since May when I was teaching up in New Jersey, and that's kind of been the whole point, is to start my own school. And again, I have been going back and forth of working with an organization or a business and running classes out of their facility, or just getting my own facility. And I've done a lot of research into both. So recently, a couple months ago actually, I had helped out at a local YMCA. I helped out with their Healthy Family Day. Now, when I was down here in April, I actually helped with another YMCA, their Healthy Kids Day, which was essentially the same kind of thing, and I ran a little booth there. This time, I ran it at a YMCA that was a little bit closer and was more prepared, knew what to expect a lot better, and just had a better time overall. It was easier to interact with the parents and the kids. We ran a cool little obstacle course. I had a nice little prize wheel, and we got a lot of really, really good feedback from the kids, from the parents, and from the YMCA staff and directors. So after that, I had a meeting with one of the directors, and our plan was to put together pretty much exactly what I was looking to do with the community centers and with the local businesses, which was run the program essentially as a third party or as a vendor, give them a cut for using the space and for promoting the program within their organization, and I would get to run my program. And that was looking pretty promising. We had a really good concept of how we wanted to run that, and we were going to go with it. So I was really excited about that. But after the meeting, I didn't hear anything. I had followed up with the information that they had asked for, nothing. Followed up again, nothing. I emailed, I texted, I called, nothing. Literally didn't hear a thing. It wasn't a no, I just didn't hear anything back. So after a little while, I was getting kind of concerned, like, is everyone okay? Like, did something happen? So I went over and I visit. I go over to the Y and I visit. And I talked to someone, and they said that they would let their people know and get back to me. So I'm like, okay, give it some more time. And they said, if you don't hear by the end of the week, email again. Lo and behold, I don't hear by the end of the week. So I email again, I text, I call, I do all the things. So I go and visit again, and I leave a note for one of the directors, and I end up hearing back. And they said that they can't do a third party or like a vendor type of agreement, but an option to run the program would be to come in as an employee at the Y and run the program that way. So that's something, and then he turned me over to their wellness director, so I've been communicating with her a little bit over the last couple of weeks. And that seems to be at the forefront of the options right now. And I'll tell you the other option that I've been pursuing as I wasn't hearing back and wasn't sure what was going to go on with the Y. So the other option was opening my own dedicated facility. Now, since moving, or before I moved, I had saved up some money to essentially pay for living expenses and some startup costs to get me going so that I wouldn't have to stress too much about money, about getting a job or anything like that. I wanted this to be my primary focus, and honestly, I anticipated this moving a little bit more quickly than it has been. Was that a good assumption? Probably not. Everything tends to take longer than we expect, but it is what it is. So, I have some money. I have some money aside in savings. But what's been happening is, as I've been here and things have been going longer and longer, obviously that fund is dwindling. So I'm like, okay, at this point, if I want to open up a dedicated facility, I'm not going to be able to fund it for very long, right? Especially if I need to do like construction, renovations, anything like that, that's really going to be tough, really going to be a strain. So I was like, okay, if I can find somewhere that is small, maybe it's like a little warehouse space where I can lay down mats, take the equipment that I have, and just start running classes and go, that would be great. So in the midst of all this, I'm doing some research. I go and visit a couple of different places that could work. I'm looking at rent and doing some comparisons and contacting agents and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really trying to do my due diligence here. And to be in the area that I would want to be, or even like an adjacent area, given the prices that I want to pay at this point, or really can pay at this point, I could make it work, to be honest, one way or another, but it doesn't seem like the intelligent decision, or really a decision that's going to set me up for success. So that brings me back to the Y again. So now that I've heard back from the Y and that we're starting to move on a program, I've put that dedicated facility on the back burner a little bit. Obviously, the goal is to still get there, right? Have my own school, my own facility to run classes out of and do everything else that I want to do, run different events and all that kind of stuff. But right now, it seems to make the most sense to work with a partner business or organization, build my brand and reputation in the area and in the community. And then as I outgrow that space and that program, that community, that schedule, all of that, then I will be in a position to move to my own dedicated facility at that point. So that is where I'm at right now. So what am I working on? Right? So that's kind of been up to this point where I've gotten to. Plans for the future and what I'm moving towards now. We're working to finalize everything with the Y, so I'm working with them. There's like a certification that I'm going to need. We have to build out the program. I'm actually in the process of fleshing out what all the program will look like and putting together a lot of the marketing materials in the meantime while we're kind of deliberating and getting everything set and ready to go. So I want to help there as much as I can and make sure this program launch goes really, really well. I'm also trying to expand my after-school program offerings. So just like I said towards the beginning with the community centers, the after-school programs, the goal is twofold. Number one is just to get my brand and my reputation recognized in the area, so connecting with more families in the community. But two, it's to funnel students into the program, right? Funnel students into the main program, which is wherever it's housed at this point. So I'm trying to expand and run some more classes with the current school that I'm working with. That may happen in the next quarter when we start up the next sessions, or it may happen later in the future. Either way, we're looking to expand that and continue to build on the momentum there. I'm also working on contacting some other schools, and I've had a little bit of progress so far, but I'm working on contacting some other schools to work with them and essentially be like, here, this is the thing that I've done with this school. Is this something that you guys would be interested in me doing for your school and with your students as well? So expanding the offerings not only in this single school that I'm already working with, but with other schools in the area that may have the type of students that I'm looking forward to have in the main program. I'm also working on expanding my involvement with the Spear system and the mobile training team. Biggest thing there is I recently got certified to run their Be Your Own Bodyguard program. And this is a one-day teaching self-defense like first aid, become safer in a day type of course. So I just got my certification a few weeks ago to run that. I actually had one scheduled for this weekend, but with the holidays and everything coming up, we had a lot of people interested. It just, the timing was off, and everyone's very protective of their weekends nowadays, or around this time of year. So we're postponing that until late January, but I want to run that BYOB, the Be Your Own Bodyguard program, a few times a year, maybe at different spots, eventually at my own dedicated facility, but I want to run those on some sort of, maybe not routine, but on some sort of consistent basis. So run a few of them in 2026 next year. I also am looking to get more involved with the MTT, with the mobile training team, leading some of the online courses, attending more events, helping, teaching, coaching, and eventually getting to the point where I am a full member of the team and not just an intern anymore, but being a part of the team and contributing on a higher level. That's number 3. So those are kind of the 3 tiers of what I'm working on right now and the direction that I'm moving. My goal overall, like I said, is to bring all of that into my own dedicated facility. So setting up this program with the Y, eventually we'll get everything going and working together. And once I outgrow that space, we'll get into my own dedicated facility. After school programs, going to continue working with local schools and organizations, running those, and eventually once I have my own dedicated spot, we'll funnel them into there as well. With Spear, I'll be able to run the Be Your Own Bodyguard program out of my own space. I may be able to run consistent Spear classes, 1 hour, 2 hour classes that aren't a full day commitment out of that dedicated spot. So the goal is to get there so I can really do whatever I want. I'm going to run events for the kids. The parents can go, have a night out and have fun. Other event ideas that I have. So a lot of stuff that I've done in the past and that I have experience doing, but this is something that I've been saying for a while now as I talk about my journey and my plans with other people, is I've ran a martial arts school before. I know how to run a martial arts school. I know how to run a successful martial arts school. We had a school, I was a manager for a school that had more than 250 students, for a while. I know I can do that, but I need to get to that point. I've never started a martial arts school by myself. And that's part of the reason that I'm documenting this, is because I want to see that process unfold, and I want to be there for other people who are looking to start a business, to start a martial arts school, or anything in general. So, as things grow over time, as I build a team, obviously, like I had said before, we're looking to expand into different locations in Central Florida, different locations in the country, and eventually different locations around the world. And I'm an ambitious person in general. Do I know that I'm going to get there? No, not necessarily, but I'm going to work as hard as I can to make it happen, because that's my goal, that's the dream. And even if I don't get there, having that type of big goal is going to get me a lot closer than having a really tiny goal of maybe just having my own school. So that's where I'm at right now. To finish up, like I said, if any of you have any questions, please put them in the chat or in the comments. If you're watching this a little bit later, I'm happy to answer that stuff and talk about that stuff, either in the comments or in some future videos. I will have a big announcement coming over the next probably couple of days, if not the next week, on the channel. So I'm going to have a separate video for that. So make sure you go back and check out some of the videos on my channel already, if you have not, and stay on the lookout for that big announcement and a little bit of a challenge that's going to be upcoming with some of the things I'm working on. And I am planning to go live probably weekly, maybe a little bit less frequently, like every 10 to 14 days. But my goal is to go live weekly with updates of what I've been doing. And the reason why I say that is I actually have there's a program in Florida that you can get access to a mentor for free and talk with them, and it's a cool government-run organization. And I've been talking with a mentor for the last couple of months. We meet about once a month, and I realized that as we've had a couple of meetings, every time that I meet with him, I have like this boatload of new information and new opportunities that have come up. And it seems like in the moment I'm like, I have done a lot. But when I'm knee deep in the work and I'm doing the stuff, it doesn't feel like I'm making a ton of progress or a lot of things are coming up. But when I take a second to look back and I'm explaining everything I've done, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I told you about this. Or I don't know if I had this opportunity last time that we talked. It's really cool to look back on and see all the progress that I've made in just like a month, just a short period of time, and all the new things that have come up. So again, another reason why documenting this journey is so important to me, because it gives me a way to take a look back on all the things that I've done, all the opportunities that I've had, all the work that I've done, and remind myself that I'm doing a lot. Of course, I can always be doing more, right? There's always more to do. There's always the next thing in front of you. But remind myself how far I've come already, even in a short period of time, even if it doesn't feel like it. So I appreciate you if you watched, especially if you watched all of this up to this point. Make sure you subscribe so you know when I'm posting videos and when I'm going live with some of these updates. If you have questions, please let me know. Put them in the chat, put them in the comments. I'm happy to talk. And thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.